I want to go to the moon.
If you've got kids, then you know how unpredictable they are. But when it comes to planning for their college education,
Can I be an astronaut?
it's a whole new level of unpredictability. By investing as little as €100 a month, we can help get your money working harder for you, for them, for tomorrow. Search bankofireland.com/explore investing. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Ireland is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc, trading as Bank of Ireland Life for life assurance and pensions business. Members of Bank of Ireland Group. Bank of Ireland trading as Bank of Ireland Insurance and Investments is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Seriously Sinister discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or it could be easy listening to all of you psychopaths out there.
Names and places have been changed to protect the hosts legally.
Listener discretion is not advised. Seriously Sinister.
Welcome to Seriously Sinister, one of Rock Bottom's main attractions. This is Trevin, and I am joined by Sierra of Twisted and Uncorked today.
Hello.
Hello. So everybody got to hear Alicia a couple weeks ago, and this is her other half of the same show. Hopefully you guys have checked her out in the 2 weeks that I gave you. So just to update with everybody, Amanda is doing good. She said that she is healing faster mentally and physically than she did with the first pregnancy, which is great because her first pregnancy was very traumatic for her. So she's doing good. And I actually, just so you all know, I get to meet Winnie tomorrow night. So not my dreadful dilemma, but I'm going to maybe hold a baby. That should be my dreadful dilemma, but we're not going to do that. So, Sierra, do you have a dreadful dilemma?
I do have a dreadful dilemma. So I feel like you can relate to this, at least based on what I've heard you talk about in the past. With moving, I just moved.
Ugh.
And really, I just moved, period, is my dreadful dilemma. But there's just so many things that happen when you move. So obviously, packing isn't fun. Actually, moving isn't fun. Unpacking is probably my least favorite thing in the whole world.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It drives me crazy that so when I'm at one house, I'll pack everything up. Like everything in the kitchen gets packed into a box that says kitchen. And then I get here and I try and unpack everything. And I'm like, this kitchen doesn't have the same amount of cabinets. It doesn't have the same pantry space. It doesn't have the little shelves above the cabinets where I used to put decorations. Like, where am I supposed to put all this stuff? So I remember you talking about in one of your episodes about how you like when the houses are all the same in the neighborhood, like
yes,
cookie cutter houses. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wish that maybe the interiors were all the same. Like everything should have a standard amount of cabinet space and pantry space. Like it's so frustrating. My feet hurt so bad because I've just been moving things all around the house because they can't go in the rooms that they were meant for in the box. Ugh, it's a mess.
It is dreadful. Was this a forced move or did you guys upgrade or?
So I probably, in your opinion, live a very dreadful life. This is my, I want to say 8th move in 10 years.
Oh, damn.
And almost every time is different states. So I make big moves a lot. Me and my husband were both in the military, so it used to be forced moves. And then when we got out, we haven't decided where we want to stay yet. Mm-hmm. We first moved to Florida and it was okay. Then we moved to Alabama and I was like, no, thanks. And then we moved to Tennessee and I loved it. But then everybody else in the world decided they also wanted to move to Tennessee. And it got really crowded and really overpriced. And I was like, okay, never mind. So now we're back in Alabama, but only for a little bit because I actually next want to go to Georgia. So
how long do you want to stay at Alabama then?
We're here for probably a year. We're living in his mom's house. So she just bought a second house and moved into it and wanted to rent this one. So we're going to rent it from her for a year while we, travel to Georgia to look at houses to buy a house.
Oh, nice. And do you already have job plans out there or?
So I work from home. Everything I do is, I can go anywhere. And then he's a barber. And the city that we're going to is a military town. And military people have to have certain haircuts. So it's kind of like you can always get a job as a barber in a military town.
And I've heard that Georgia has a lot of hair. So that's good.
I think so. I think there's a lot of, what's that one hairdo?
Mullet?
That people are doing again. Yes. There's a lot of mullets right now.
Sweet. And that's just like shaving, except you just do less shaving.
Right. Just the sides.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Well, I hope that works out for you. And I'm sorry to hear that you'll be moving again in a year.
Yeah, I should be used to it by now. I really should. But every time it gets to me.
Yeah, I totally get it. I could never live your lifestyle. But the 2 last year about did me in. So I'm hoping to make this work for quite some time.
Well, at least you got to buy a house. I haven't made it that far yet.
Yeah, that's true. And I got to say, buying is way better than any renting I've ever done.
Yeah, I am excited to figure that out. What is your dreadful dilemma?
So this is so weird. Alicia and my dreadful dilemma is actually matched up really well. And it seems like yours and mine are going to too. But mine is actually house related.
Oh.
And so I try not to make a lot of mistakes. And when I do, I'm just like, damn it, I thought I was perfect at everything. And it's really hard on me. And so I do everything the same way every time just to try to keep myself from making mistakes. I'm just very meticulous with what I do. And on Sunday night, we took the trash out. And when I went to go close the garage, we have 2 garage doors. And I hit the wrong one on accident and I fixed it and whatever and thought that I saw the garage door going down when I went to bed.
Uh-oh.
But I went to bed and on Monday morning, Emily had gotten up and she got ready to leave for work and went out to get in her car and was like, whoa, did you know that the garage door is open? And I was like, oh, what? Like, it was me. It had to have been me. It couldn't have been anybody else. And I looked at our little Wi-Fi garage door thing and it said, open from 10:45 till 7:30 in the morning.
Icky.
It's one of those things where, you shouldn't ruminate on, mistakes you made. You are not your mistakes, or any other therapist saying like that. But it's just like, oh, that's a big one. Like, what have I done? Like, I'm just sitting there thinking about all the ways it could have went wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. Nothing has happened. Everything is fine. But what if something did happen?
Yes, there was an easy open door right into my entire house. And even if somebody didn't want to go up the stairs and rob anything up there, my recording studio down here is in the lower part of the house. So you could have easily just walked in, couple steps forward, taken all my shit, turned around and left. And it probably would have never tripped up my animals, or my Ring camera is very spotty. So it wouldn't have caught somebody going into my garage since it's on my front door. So I could have potentially woke up with a really bad day.
Yeah. Your dogs, you have dogs, right?
Yeah, I've got my little Sheltie Mabel.
She's not a barker?
Oh, God, she's a barker. But she doesn't always bark at night. I don't know. The cats make enough noise at night, and she respects the cats so much that if the cats are like making a lot of noise, she's like, I don't want to mess with that. Like, I know what will happen to me, so I'm just going to stay here.
Oh, that is so scary. I actually have had someone come into my house before while I was sleeping. Someone broke in because I left the back door unlocked. And ever since then, I have never, ever, ever left any door unlocked ever at night. So, like, it takes one time for someone to enter your space while you're sleeping. You wake up and see a man looking at you, and it'll never happen again. So, yeah, I always double check everything every single night. So maybe that is what this has done to you. Now you'll just be more vigilant.
Yeah, I had a bad problem there when I lived at our old place where I just kept having home intruder nightmares where I couldn't go to sleep sometimes because I'd be thinking about it. I guess I got over that fear because I was able to make that mistake, but shit. So what did that guy do when he came in? Did he do anything?
The police said they think that he was just drunk and stumbled into the wrong house.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure he was related to the people across the street. Pretty sure I saw him over there like a week later, but I didn't get a good enough look at him to accuse anybody of anything. But he came in. We had a fence and a back kind of like screened in area.
Mm-hmm.
So he like went around the backyard, through the fence, came in the little like back area door, then through the actual back door. and like walked around the house. He had to go through the kids' playroom, which links to the back door, through the kitchen, around my daughter's bedroom. Luckily, she wasn't home, and my son's bedroom, who was in bed with me, to get to my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And when me and my husband woke up, we were like, what was that? Like, did you just hear something? And we like shine the light, and he was just standing in our bedroom door looking. And my husband was like, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of our house. And he started like chasing him. The guy didn't even run. He just casually walked out.
Weird.
Until they got outside. And that's when he started running, and my husband started chasing him, who, by the way, my husband sleeps naked. So he was running down the street naked.
Oh, hell yeah.
So that was probably an interesting sight for the neighbors. But yeah, it was terrifying. I don't know what could have happened. Ugh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that didn't turn out to be worse than what it was.
Yeah. Never leaving doors unlocked again.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be a lot better about that now, even though I was already like super bad about it. But hey, I guess I'll find a new peak. So, this being the third of my Seriously Sinister and Friends phase I'm going through, we are going to continue with what I have been calling my Get to Know Your Host segment.
We got ways of making you talk.
And so first, before I start asking you the tough questions, the main thing I'm trying to do here is everybody had about 60 episodes to get to know Amanda, you know, and you're just new here.
Right.
So we got to get to know everything we can in this short amount of time.
Oh, gosh.
So we know that you are a mother of two, right? Okay.
Yep,
you were in the military. You did a lot of traveling. You work from home. Alicia's given the rundown on your show, but feel free to plug your show more if you want. Anything you want to share about your show or about you before I ask the hard-hitting questions?
I will say one thing added to my show, our show with Alicia. First of all, I don't know what she said. I haven't heard that episode yet. It hasn't come out yet. But she is the greatest co-host for allowing me to be on her show. This was her show before Twisted and Uncorked. I had a different podcast. I had a podcast called Basic Murder Babes that I did with my best friend in America, Kelsey. And we did that for a while. And then Kelsey got really busy with work and wasn't able to continue. I tried to replace her with my sister, and it just didn't work out. You know, the dynamic there was me and Kelsey. And then Alicia went through some stuff and asked if I wanted to join her. And it was just a match made in heaven.
Oh.
Twisted and Uncorked, that's where I was meant to be. And I'm so grateful that she allowed me to do that with her. So if you haven't listened to Basic Murder Babes, that's still out there. You can listen to those. But the very last episode of Basic Murder Babes is the very first episode of Twisted and Uncorked. So I had to transfer it.
That is cool. I did not know that. So Alicia, she was solo before, or did she have another?
She had a co-host as well. I don't remember how many episodes they did. It was still pretty early on, and that co-host just didn't have time for it either. So she left, and we were both solo, and she was like, let's join forces. And it was great.
Oh, I love that serendipitous kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I pushed Amanda to do a podcast. Her and another friend of ours, they were like, oh, we want to do a podcast because they were both two young moms, and they just kind of wanted to talk about like lady problems and mom problems and the hard-hitting questions. And they just brought it up casually to me once, and I wouldn't let go of it. I said, you guys got to do it. You guys got to do it. And they're like, yeah, but there's a lot of this and a lot of that, and there's a lot of technicalities, like how do you do audio stuff? I just scrounged up a bunch of my odds and ends of audio stuff and said, here's an entire setup.
Oh my gosh.
Here's all my spare mics. Here's my this. And it's just like, all you need to do is just download Audacity and record yourselves. I wrote them a theme song, and then I said, I'll edit for you for a little bit. And then I ended up just editing every episode for him because I'm just so damn perfectionist with what I do. That's just a little thing about Amanda and I. And then her co-host dropped out, and then I said, we were already planning like a second season, and I was going to be a little more of like one of those sound guys that kind of, you know, he pops in and out and talks a little bit. Because I just wanted to have a little bit more involvement, and that friend didn't want to do it anymore. And I said, let's do this. I want to do it more, except I don't think I should be the second co-host on like a mom problems thing. So then we jumped over and combined and made this. So I already had like a year into the podcasting world. I just wasn't really front and center with it.
Right.
But
that's
I love
pretty cool. I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Truthful Tea was what it was called. I don't know if it's still up or not. I would have to look.
Interesting.
But yeah, I made a cool little funky groove for it. And I like the music I make more now, but it was still fun to do at the time. Okay, so we've got to get to know you, and now here some hard-hitting questions.
Uh-oh.
So Amanda wrote this question, and she wants to know, do you think you're better than me?
Wait, better than Trevin or better than Amanda?
Amanda, you think you can just take her spot like this?
I think I am so much worse than Amanda. I'm trying really hard right now, and I hope she approves of this.
Everybody gets that as their first question. Just so you know.
Okay.
What are some thoughts that keep you up at night?
Are the doors locked? Definitely one of them. Am I hot or am I cold? I do this thing where like one leg is out of the blankets and one leg is in. And I'm like, do I need both legs in? Do I need both legs out? How do I feel about this blanket situation? I love blankets, but the blanket has to be cold.
Oh, I love a cold blanket.
I don't want to be warm.
You a cold pillow person too?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Flip my pillow a lot at night.
I do too, especially if my dog licks it all on one side for some reason. I hate that. I mean, that makes it cooler, but it doesn't make it fun. And this was one that I've always kind of wondered for women here. Would you rather be mistaken as pregnant or accused of being a thief?
I think mistaken as pregnant is more embarrassing for the other person than it is for me.
Okay.
So I'm comfortable with the way I look. And by the way, I have been mistaken as pregnant like ever since I was 12 years old. I'm not even kidding. My spine is shaped in a way that it like protrudes my stomach a little. So even in high school, teachers are like, are you okay? Are you pregnant? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, nope. Okay, thanks. But yeah, honestly, I think the feeling of saying no, I'm not to them makes them feel worse than it makes me feel. So
nice. That's a good empowering way to look at it. It's just like somebody says something and it's like, oh yeah, you think I'm going to feel bad? I feel bad for you.
Yes.
I like that. That's a nice way of doing it. Would you like to share your home address with the audience?
I would not.
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
I just thought I would take a shot there. All right. And just for fun, do you think frostbite is sexy?
Okay. No, I don't. Also, there is a billboard in this town of a foot. It's just a foot that has probably frostbite. And every time I drive by the billboard, it's for a foot doctor. Did you really have to put that picture on the sign? It's disgusting.
So it's a yucky foot?
It's a yucky with like black toes and like cracks and like it's disgusting. Yes, I can't handle it. Every time I drive past it, I'm like, don't look at the sign.
That seems like that would be like a Surgeon General thing, like to keep people from wearing a certain type of shoe or something.
Yeah.
Like, don't wear these shoes if you want your feet to look like this. Well, I would say that you passed, and now we all know you a little bit better.
All right. Sounds good to me. Still not on Amanda's level yet. But.
We'll get there. And on for the regular segment, we will be doing one round of 2 truths and a lie. I've got 3 wires. Which one do I cut?
I'll give you 2 truths and a lie.
But wait, we don't have time for this. So I did not realize that you moved out of Tennessee because this actually is a very Tennessee question.
Okay.
This episode will be coming out on June 1st. And did you know that on June 1st of 1796 is when Tennessee became the 16th state?
I did not know that. That is very interesting.
In honor of you and to honor Tennessee's birthday, I wanted to do 2 truths and a lie about what I thought was your home state, Tennessee.
I lived there for 3 years, so let's see if I can figure it out.
Yeah, let's see how well you know your city here, or your state. Okay, number 1. Tennessee had a boat disaster that had more casualties than the Titanic.
Okay.
Number 2. Cult leader Jim Jones was born in the northern part of Tennessee.
This is going to be hard.
Or number 3. The first American killed in Vietnam was from Tennessee. So which is the lie?
I want to know. I want to know if anybody from Tennessee, like actually from Tennessee, knows any of these answers, because this sounds ridiculous. All of them sound like lies.
I had to do a lot of digging to find interesting shit about Tennessee. Trust me.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I feel like Tennessee doesn't have very much water. So I think the boating one could be a lie. Jim Jones specifically sounds like too big of a name to be from Tennessee, but there's a lot of fucking cults in northern Tennessee. Am I allowed to say fuck on here? I'm sorry.
You're all good.
Okay, sorry. So I feel like that one could be true. But also it could be, Jim Jones is a big name. The Vietnam War one, I don't even know how anyone would ever know that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say the lie is the boating one.
And you're incorrect.
Oh, no.
The Jim Jones one was actually the lie.
Okay. Where was this boating disaster?
Just so people know, Jim Jones was born in Crete, Indiana. So not too terribly far, but not Tennessee.
Wow.
So the first one, Tennessee had a boat disaster that had more casualties than the Titanic. 7 miles out of Memphis on the Mississippi River, the Sultana disaster was considered the worst maritime disaster in American history. The boiler in the ship exploded, killing nearly 1,700 people, which is more than 200 more than the Titanic.
Oh my gosh. That is crazy.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Me either. I didn't even realize the Mississippi River touched Tennessee.
Oh, no. And then the third one, the first American killed in Vietnam was from Tennessee. This is a very goofy fact, but if you check the history, I don't know if it's in a history book, but if you check the truth books, I guess. So this guy named James Davis died, drawing attention away from his group, basically sacrificing himself to save his battalion. And he was named the first American killed in Vietnam. Although the first death recorded on the Vietnam Memorial Wall was recorded as 1956, and James Davis died in 1961, Lyndon B. Johnson considered the Vietnam War to have begun on December 11th, 1961. So as a technicality, this guy died after Lyndon B. Johnson made up this arbitrary date of when it started, even though we had troops in there 5 years before.
Right.
So.
Okay, interesting.
It's goofy, but there is like a plaque and everything says like, oh, he's the first. And
it is cool that he was like, he died, not just, no offense to people fighting in war, but like not just fighting in the war. He was sacrificing himself for his fellow brethren. Were there girls in the war then? I don't think so.
Probably not.
That's a cute story.
Yeah, it's a cute sacrifice.
Yeah.
So now I feel like you probably want to move back to Tennessee after knowing all this awesomeness.
I don't. I really don't. It's really pretty, but I don't. Everyone rolls their eyes at me when I say this, but right now, I'm telling you, like, mark my words, in 10 years, Nashville, Tennessee is going to be known as Little LA.
Oh, no.
Like, it is turning into Los Angeles. I did not meet a single person there who was from Tennessee. They were all from California. Oh. Every single one of them. I don't understand. Like, I get that the people from California don't want to be in California anymore, but they're all moving to the same place. Like, doesn't that just make it the same place?
Yeah, pretty much.
You're just making it again. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, we'll just see what happens to California now.
Yeah. Maybe I'll go there.
Yeah, maybe. Or you could go up to Canada with Alicia.
Yes, I can do that.
That could be fun. And so, now that we finished that segment, it is on to the main attraction of our episode.
I want to go to the moon.
If you've got kids, then you know how unpredictable they are. But when it comes to planning for their college education,
Can I be an astronaut?
it's a whole new level of unpredictability. By investing as little as €100 a month, we can help get your money working harder for you, for them, for tomorrow. Search bankofireland.com/explore investing. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Ireland is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc, trading as Bank of Ireland Life for life assurance and pensions business. Members of Bank of Ireland Group. Bank of Ireland trading as Bank of Ireland Insurance and Investments is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
It's story time.
Story time.
And I talked to you before the show, and it looks like you would like to try to go first.
I can go first. Speaking of attraction, I got a story for you.
Oh, boy.
About attraction here, sort of. This is a story from the news.
I love the news.
All right. Are we ready?
Yes.
Love is often misunderstood. Love at first sight. Love that gives you butterflies. It is lust, not love, that comes to us so easily. Love is hard. Love takes work. Love is resisting smothering your partner when their snoring keeps you up all night.
I will fucking kill
Love is not ripping off the cabinet doors when you've hit your head on the corner for the 8th time because your partner left it open. Love is only silently judging your partner when you hear them yelling at 12-year-olds on PlayStation 5 when they're losing.
Your finger paintings on the fridge probably suck.
And most importantly, love is always trying to not let things get stale or boring.
I hope she likes this butt pic.
Edward Sanchez had grown up a very boring kid. He never broke a single rule. Everything he did was by the book. He didn't play outside much because there were too many germs that could get him sick.
Ew, yucky.
He ate the suggested amounts of grains, meats, fruits, and veggies, according to the food pyramid. He told his mom every time another kid disobeyed the sign, telling them not to climb up the indoor slide. He did all of his homework the day it was given to him. He obeyed every single road sign when he finally learned to drive. And after he graduated high school, he became a police officer so that he could ensure a boring world around him as well. This boring attitude also followed Edward into his love life. At first, it was no big deal. When Stacy first met Edward, she had those butterflies. It was love at first sight. She had a thing for a man in uniform, with all that authority. And Edward knew that to continue to live a life of being boring and normal, he needed to have a wife. So they got married.
You may kiss the bride.
But Stacy quickly got bored. That lust she had misnamed love was fading, and Edward was too boring to ignite the love flame.
It usually works if I play with it a little.
He felt her wanting to leave him, and he couldn't have that. He couldn't be divorced. That would be too much excitement for his life. Edward needed to spice things up in his love life fast. But where would he find the time in between pulling people over for hanging fun dice in their rearview mirrors?
A little too much fun, don't you think?
At work one day, when helping to train the drug dogs, Edward got an idea. Steal the drugs. He had seen people on drugs many times on TV, and they always looked like they were having fun. So he grabbed a bag of cocaine and he took it home. Like a penguin hoping to have the biggest and coolest rock in the bunch, Edward offered the cocaine to his wife, hoping that would make her love him again.
Do you really mean it?
Success! Stacy went on a 3-week coke binge of fun. And Edward didn't even have to stop being boring. But when the 3 weeks were over, Stacy was too bored again. She needed more fun, and she didn't want to be having it all alone. So Edward planned a date night with his wife Stacy. When they got home from work, they would bake some brownies together, and he would actually eat them.
It's so good, but so bad.
While on a traffic stop the day of the date night, Edward had to confiscate a bag of marijuana.
Hand it over, weed heads.
In that moment, he felt like a message was coming to him directly from God.
If you really want to keep your wife, add this bag of fun to your brownies.
Edward and Stacy had the most fun time making pot brownies together. They ate nearly the whole batch. They laughed and joked and had fun. Their relationship was going to make it through this rough patch after all. Everything was going well. Until it wasn't. On April 21st, 2006, at 9:35 p.m., Dearborn, Michigan police officer Edward Sanchez phoned 911 to ask for medical assistance.
I need help!
He told dispatch that he and his wife had made and eaten pot brownies, and he thought they might be overdosing. As the dispatcher tried to keep Edward calm, he continued to beg for help. "Please come. I think we're dying. We made brownies, and I think we're dead. I really do. Time is going by really, 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 really slow. Please send rescue." When police and rescue arrived, they helped their buddy to understand that you can't overdose on pot brownies, and they helped him to calm down and feel better.
Let's get you a snack.
Officer Edward Sanchez faced charges of mishandling criminal evidence and disorderly conduct and was forced to resign from his position on the police force. How different could the story have been if only Edward remained his boring self? It is true that love and relationships take hard work, but always remember that you deserve to be loved for who you truly are. Surely there are ways to spice up your love life without breaking any laws. But then again, having your relationship talked about on this podcast is probably as spicy as it could ever get.
Oh, girl, ain't that the truth? This is just a regular old spice cabinet, this show.
It is.
Oh, man. So was the cocaine thing actually part of it, or did you make that part up?
Yes. So Edward Sanchez really was an officer who stole cocaine and weed and made pot brownies and called 911 and said all those things. Like, his words were an exact quote from the 911 call, which makes it hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But I did make up the whole backstory about needing to spice up the relationship and being boring. I think that they said this actually was not the first time he had stolen weed from criminals and smoked it.
Wow.
And then also, unfortunately, even though he was facing those charges, he was not charged with anything at all.
Yeah, that's about how it goes.
So, yeah.
That is wild. You'd think that with that much experience, he would have known better than, he would have just rode the high out.
Right. Well, he said that he was scared it was laced with something that he didn't know of.
Oh.
But it's just so dumb. Like, maybe don't smoke weed from criminals? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know where it's been.
Every time I listen to that 911 call, I just laugh. Like, I can't handle it.
I love that. That is one of my favorite things about this show is like just following up on the actual real proof of what you have. Like sometimes it's a YouTube video or surveillance or a phone call. They're pretty golden. I mean, a lot of these people really find some sticky situations.
Definitely.
It's really funny that you talk about smothering somebody with a pillow for snoring because you haven't heard the episode because I'm not even done editing it. But last week's episode, the one that will actually come out last week, that was one of the dreadful dilemmas was wanting to smother a husband for snoring. So.
Oh, well, so actually, those were all kind of like real life things. I'm the snorer.
Oh.
Actually. So, yeah, my husband talks all the time like, I love you because I don't smother you at night. But my husband leaves the cabinet doors open all the time. And I like slam them shut, like, just close the cabinets. And then, of course, he plays PlayStation and yells at 12-year-olds. So.
Yeah, that's what I like about the format of this show is you really don't realize how much a small petty crime can really connect to your own life if you really just dig enough.
It's like venting.
Yeah, it's really freeing. I love that. I think that's why I've just been so mentally stable since I've been doing this show because, they say it's really good to just write your feelings and whatnot. And it's like, I get to write about, a lady farting in Dollar General, but can still express all my deepest emotions in the preamble leading up to it.
Right. Yes.
In some way, that may be an innocent fart of a lady, but to me, that is like a person standing up to their bullies, or something like that. It's just like, it means so much more to me. All these petty crimes are metaphors. And yeah, I don't think anybody else sees it the same way, but at least it shows that I love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of love, and I'm glad that you had found a nice way to spice things up with your story.
Yes.
Spicing things up is a good backstory and a good theme to go with. I always like to try to find a new theme or angle when I'm writing things.
Yeah.
Well, I loved your story. I cannot wait to put sound effects to it. You did a very good job.
Thank you. I can't wait to hear yours.
Oh, well, lucky for you, I've got one right here.
Yay.
I think I'll just roll with it, and then we'll just let the conversation after it go.
Okay.
But Yeah, this one is from the news, and we'll just let her play and see how we feel afterwards.
All right.
All right, and here we go. Fast tempo, energetic delivery, an insatiable thirst for violence. These are just a few ways that you could describe the genre of rock music. Rock and roll has been summoning demons and terrorizing white people since its inception in the 1950s.
Not rock music!
Starting as a rebellious spin on the blues, this genre was invented with one thing in mind: absolute anarchy. There's something about this kind of music that can grab hold of the young generation and inspire them to deny all things that their elders before them held dearly. Like a mysterious turd floating in a public pool, rock music can slowly float around and pollute all that come close to it.
Get it away from me!
With distorted guitars and pumping drum beats, rock and roll is the official music of people with high blood pressure. Are you prone to angry fits? Do you like to mimic acts of destruction when you've had too much? Then hop in the mosh pit and lose yourself, fam. It's time to throw your fists and show everyone all of that pent-up anger you've been concealing in public.
Yeah, I'm angry!
This music has some of the most die-hard fans. It is like the hug that angry people never got. They immediately buy into the messages of the songs, buy shirts and albums, and become walking billboards that subliminally say, "I probably scream into my steering wheel while in traffic." It's an obsession that starts with small fashion changes, like long sleeve shirts under short sleeve shirts, and ends in big acts of expression, like being buried in a $4,000 kiss casket.
At least now Tom is surrounded by his 4 closest friends.
Growing up as a misunderstood youth, I clung to rock music. The depressive lyrics of Korn helped drive a lot of decisions I made in my teens. It made me feel less alone to hear a sad man in his 30s making angry music about how he used to be sad in his teens. I immediately bought it. I collected all their albums and learned to cope with my sadness through the songs. Although I was inspired to get in touch with the darker part of me, I was still not one of those aggressive rock fans. I remember one particular time when I was staying the night at a friend's house in middle school, and I watched my friend get in a fight with his mom.
I hate you!
We immediately went into his room, where he felt his best way of dealing with the situation was to go in and crank Slipknot on his bedroom stereo. As a guest in the home, I stood awkwardly at this moment. I watched as my friend lip-synced the violent lyrics with rage in his eyes.
I want to hurt you with my words.
But my timid young self couldn't take it. In my home, I would have gotten in trouble at this point. I slowly raised one finger up and said, "Excuse me, do you think we could turn this down to a more acceptable volume?" That was me in my rebellious stage. My friends made fun of me a lot for that one little line. I met one very memorable rocker type during my time in audio school. My roommate and I didn't really get out much, and we only socialized within our immediate class group. The class was made up of about 10 people. The one time my roommate and I did get invited to a strictly conservatory house party, it was a little awkward. We were invited by someone we really didn't know, and there was one stereo system in the corner of the room. Do you want to watch a room of musicians turn on one person? Leave a stereo out with an unattended aux cord. It may seem inviting, but I can assure you, it's a trap. While everyone was socializing, a very drunk dude had stumbled into the house. He didn't seem to be at the party with anyone. He just sort of showed up. He would act chummy with people at the party long enough to feel comfortable asking, "Yo, do you mind if I have one of those?" And then he would just get another free drink off of someone. But the second he saw the stereo's aux cord, his eyes lit up.
Oh my fuck.
He drunkenly stumbled towards the stereo and pulled an iPod out of his pocket, as if he was waiting for this moment all night. He quickly scrolled the wheel on his handheld device and began to play the Guns N' Roses song, November Rain. As the soft piano and strings intro to the early 90s hair metal ballad started, the guy stood alone in the living room with his beer held high and yelled, "November Rain!" Everyone at the party attempted to ignore him. The conversation amongst the others kept flowing, usually coming back to who the hell this jackass was getting emotional while listening to Guns N' Roses.
It's so damn good.
We kept talking shit until the drunk guy stumbled over to us. He began to ask if we liked November Rain,
This is a good ass song, right?
until he got distracted by the can of chew in my roommate's pocket. "Can I have a dip of that?" the odd character asked. My roommate obliged out of awkward obligation. In a very clumsy exchange, the Guns N' Roses fan dropped my roommate's can of chew, spilling stringy, disgusting tobacco all over the floor. "Don't worry, I've got this," the guy quickly said, with a confident look in his eyes. He then dropped to the ground like he was about to do a push-up and poured the rest of his beer onto the floor, covering the pile of chew. In one fluid motion, the man took a deep breath, plugged one nostril, and then snorted up the entire puddle of chew and beer. Completely flabbergasted at this encounter, my senses started to pick something else up from the corner of the room. As November Rain began to fade out, the same piano and strings intro started to fade back in. The guy had set his iPod to play November Rain on repeat. "Oh, hell no," the owner of the house said, going over and unplugging the iPod. He then put it on some generic late 2000s party music to play in the background. As much as the beer snorter seemed out of it, nothing got his attention quite like stopping his favorite song. The guy puffed up his chest and started walking into the homeowner as if he were wanting to start a fight. "Why did you turn off November Rain?" he kept repeating, each time sounding more and more threatening. Realizing that the host of the party wasn't going to fight him, he walked back over and attempted to plug his iPod in to restart November Rain. The whole incident ended with him trying to fight a crowd of 3 guys as they grabbed him and tossed him out of the front door. My story for this week will follow another lover of rock music, and will show what happens when you come between a rocker and their urge to rock. So crank it to 11 and put another dime in the jukebox, baby, because we're on a highway to hell. Joyce was a 52-year-old woman with a gruff voice and a stare that could turn Medusa to stone. She loved partying and rock music. Although everyone at the local pubs knew her by name, they didn't necessarily like her, as Joyce could turn on you at a moment's notice. One second you could be knocking back a couple of brewskis with her, and the next, she would be knocking your teeth in because you quoted the Rolling Stones incorrectly.
Those aren't the words.
She wasn't pleasant company, she didn't bathe regularly, and her aggressive intolerance for alcohol made her someone to avoid. When Joyce was on the sauce, no one was safe. The whole town knew her drinking habits, and local bars even went as far as having happy hour prices when she was there, just to fight other patrons' urges to leave when she came in. Although Joyce had many things on her list of hates, like city traffic, people with food intolerances, and dogs that wear sweaters, Joyce was preparing herself to face one of her biggest dislikes: cleaning. As the weather began to cool and everyone was preparing for fall, it was time for Joyce to do some cleaning. Unlike some people who pick up little by little as the days go on, Joyce just liked to throw everything into a pile and clean up once at the end of every season. Sure, Her once carpeted floor had turned into an ocean of beer cans, but it was just easier to push on and keep the party rock lifestyle going. To prepare for this massive cleaning day, Joyce woke up in a drunken stupor and decided to blend herself a little cleaning fuel: breakfast margaritas. Walking around with the pitcher in one hand and a cigarette between two fingers, she may not have been the most efficient cleaner, but she had fun. Although she lacked full use of her hands, she had one special trick up her sleeve that would push her to her peak cleaning potential: rock music. "Hey Alexa," Joyce said to the all-powerful Amazon device, "play Highway to Hell." "And Alexa, I want to rock." With Alexa being the only person to never run away from Joyce, she knew exactly what Joyce wanted. This wasn't her first rodeo. Alexa knew it was time to crank up the jams so Joyce could clean. As Angus Young's distorted guitar riff began to play, Joyce's eyes began to roll back as her hands shook above her head. She was possessed by the spirit of rock and roll. Once the drums kicked in, she was a Tasmanian devil tornado of cleaning. Joyce wasn't too long into her cleaning frenzy before she received a knock at the door. Angry that she had to turn down AC/DC, she turned the radio down and answered the door. As she opened the door, there stood an officer. "Sounds like you're having a pretty loud time in there, ma'am," the officer said. "We've received a couple of noise complaints. I know it's only 3 p.m., but could you do us a favor and turn it down? Our dispatch could hear the words from Highway to Hell through the call from your neighbor." Joyce went along with the words of the officer and agreed to be compliant.
"Yes, sir."
But as she watched the cop car leave her driveway from the safety of her window, Joyce began to get worked up. "Fuck you, pig. I told Alexa I want to rock, and damn it, I want to rock. Alexa, I want to rock," she screamed to her smart speaker. Joyce's Alexa continued to play more classic rock hits at a high level of volume. She continued to clean and kick beer cans all around the house. But it wasn't long until Joyce got another knock at the door. Visibly annoyed, Joyce kept the music up and answered the door. There stood the same cop from before, but this time, he looked just as annoyed as her. The conversation didn't go as pleasantly, as Joyce's breakfast margarita started to do some of the talking.
"This is bullshit."
In no time, Joyce was wearing steel bracelets and being stuffed in the back of the same cop car she watched leave just an hour ago. Joyce was held in custody for about 5 hours. This gave her a little time to sober up and think about why she felt so rebellious. But sadly, she also couldn't stop thinking about how mad she was that the cops had to stop the rock. As she returned home, she picked her now 6-hour-old pitcher of margarita up off the mantle and took a sip. She knew there was no way she would get any cleaning done without something to groove to, and in no time, that margarita had her feeling the need to rock again. With one eyebrow raised, Joyce looked over to the speaker. "Alexa!" Joyce said. I know, Alexa said. "You want to rock. Rebellious hits. Here you are." This time, the beginning riff to Sweet Child of Mine began to echo throughout the house. Joyce's body was once again taken over as she flailed about the house, cleaning and losing control. It wasn't long into the house concert until more knocks at the door came. "What the hell?" the officer said. "You've been out of custody for about an hour and a half." With very little words exchanged, Joyce put her hands forward and accepted another arrest. This arrest was now around 9:20 p.m. At the risk of being too repetitive, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Joyce was eventually released from jail around midnight that night, where she immediately ran home and began to crank rock music until a new officer showed up to arrest her again at 1:10 a.m. This time, the police had enough. Joyce was held in custody where she could sleep some of this rebellious energy off before being released again earlier that morning. Seemingly learning her lesson, Joyce started her new day waking up in a jail cell and returning home. Walking in through her front door, Joyce dropped her keys on the table, picked up a can of beer, and made a demand to her Amazon smart speaker. Alexa, let's listen to some music at a respectable level. Seeing some growth in her owner, Alexa kindly played more Guns N' Roses, but at a comfortable volume. Joyce sipped on her beer and cleaned up the house. While she was cleaning, she heard her front door shut. "Hey, Aunt Joyce, I'm just stopping by to get my science book that I left here," Joyce's nephew announced. Instantly triggered with rage, Joyce screamed, "I just want to rock!" as she threw the first thing she could get her hands on, which just happened to be a frying pan. She watched as the frying pan bounced off of her nephew's head as he ran out of the house crying. It wasn't long until the police were knocking at her door again, but this time for a domestic disturbance. In August of 2012, Epping, New Hampshire woman Joyce Coffey was arrested 4 times in 26 hours. Ignoring the initial visit for a noise complaint, Joyce continued cranking classic rock music and kept finding herself in jail. In 2 of the 5 calls made to police, the dispatch could perfectly make out the song lyrics to Highway to Hell in the background of the neighbor's call. The 5th arrest came after Joyce's nephew called with a complaint of being hit with a frying pan after entering Joyce's home to retrieve some belongings. Police stated that it appeared to be an alcohol-fueled occurrence. During her court hearing, the judge sentenced Joyce to listen to music with headphones while holding her on a $10,000 bail. The bail could be converted to an inpatient mental health evaluation program if she accepted. Once the program was complete, Joyce would be sentenced to home confinement with electronic monitoring. I could not find what Joyce had decided on. I hope she got the help. But wow, talk about being a rock and roll lover. Call it stubbornness or just plain anger, but Joyce was on a mission and nothing was going to stop her from rocking the house. So in memory of Joyce's last stand, almost 10 years ago, I find it fitting to end this with the lyrics of Joyce's favorite song. Don't need no reason, don't need rhyme. Ain't nothing I'd rather do, going down, party time. My friends are gonna be there too. I'm on the highway to hell.
That was amazing. I can't believe that's real.
Yeah, who the hell?
Oh my gosh, Joyce.
That is pure rebellion.
Oh my goodness.
At least I would have thought, and most people, even the most rebellious of people I know, would have gotten arrested once and then probably been like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Like noise complaint, arrest, that's it. Not noise complaint, arrest, domestic dispute.
It just kept escalating.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's awful. She really wanted to listen to some music.
Yeah, and nobody was going to stop her.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. While you were telling the story, I kept having like little thoughts come in my head. The first one is that my husband, when he was a high schooler, went to a rock concert and he was in a mosh pit and he got a black eye from some girl's dreadlocks, like her hair.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, swinging her head and it hit him in the face and he got a black eye from it, which I think is hilarious. Also, he totally does the long sleeve shirt under a short sleeve shirt thing.
Oh, I did that in high school
funny.
a lot.
Oh, he still does that.
Oh my.
And he is 34. So, also, do you have an Alexa?
I don't. I have a Google Home.
Okay. I was like, I hope you muted that because mine would be going off right now.
No, yeah, I should switch over because more of my stuff is actually compatible with it, but
yeah,
I got a Google Home for free once, and honestly, I like using controllers. I don't like telling things. I feel weird. Like, there's a guy at my work who I feel like he's just a bossy guy. Like, he just gets off telling people what to do because he works at a cubicle. He's a salesman, so of course he's calling all day, but he refuses to use his work phone. He's just like, oh, I hate my work phone. I'll just use my cell phone. So I will hear him all day. Hey, Alexa, call Steve, whatever. And then you get off the phone. Hey, Alexa, dial 456-391, blah, you know. And it's just like, fucking
just
dial
push
it.
the buttons. Gosh.
I don't want to hear every time you make a phone call. I know you're doing it. And it's just like, to me, and it's just because it annoys me, but
Yeah.
I've made up the backstory that he just likes the feeling of telling somebody what to do.
Yeah.
So he just bullies Alexa around and makes him be his dialer.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
But yes, that story really touched me. And I don't know if that's a record for 26 hours.
It's gotta be.
I didn't see anything, but it's probably at least a state record where she was from.
Yeah.
In New Hampshire.
I cannot believe. And the music was actually that music too.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they said Highway to Hell and Van Halen were the two that they named in the articles. So this lady was all business.
Yeah. How did you find that?
That's a good question. I don't remember.
Just something you stumbled upon.
Yeah, I have to do a lot of weird stumbling upon to find this kind of stuff. I mean, you only get so far when you type in like funny crimes. You got to start digging deep and finding different things. I'm sure you totally understand.
Well, after trying to prepare for this, definitely for our podcast, I'm always looking up like craziest crimes or like the most unbelievable murder. And it's like, oh my God, there's so many things that I don't want to talk about.
Yeah, that's the thing with the murder thing. When we first started this show, we were a couple episodes in and she's like, man, these episodes are really cool, but do you really think we have enough to go off of? And I'm like, if people who do murder podcasts, you know, what Generation Y is up like 400 or 600 episodes.
Right.
You can do that many episodes on murder, which murder is much worse than misdemeanors. It's like, we should be able to go until our dying day. Like, we should be totally fine.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, most of the shows that handle this kind of stuff, or if you watch an old, like in the 90s, they always had like World Dumbest Criminal specials and stuff like that. How many crimes do you get in an hour-long thing? You get so many.
Right.
I want to take one little snippet of one and I want to stretch it out into 12 minutes. So
yeah,
I feel like, yeah, we can keep this going for quite a while. You just got to know where to look.
That's hilarious. I love it. I know Amanda likes to usually do a connection between the stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought of one between our stories, and it is that the cops in both stories were really boring.
They are boring cops.
Joyce just wanted to fucking rock, okay? And the cops were like, turn your music down. And my boring cop was, you know, boring from birth.
They're pretty much like the party police.
Yeah.
Wow, total buzzkills. That's a good one. I was trying to think of what it was going to be myself. I remember you said something about a rock or something. Was it crack rock or something? I don't remember. Something.
Yeah, it was the cocaine, because when a penguin, like when a female penguin chooses a male penguin, she chooses it based on its rock. Like whoever has the best rock.
Like The Pebble and the Penguin.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah, and I was talking about the cocaine rock.
Right. So that's two different kinds of rock there too.
Yes.
Alicia's story was about a penguin. Did you know that?
I did not.
Oh.
Oh, actually I did. It just occurred to me. She did tell me which story it was. Yeah.
Yeah. That was
I
one
love
that
that story.
I had been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm totally glad she did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one where I was thinking, if we ever made a seriously sinister movie, it would be that penguin story. So that is our show. Thank you so much for being on here with me.
Thanks for having me.
You've done great. I can tell you did your homework, and nothing makes me happier than having a guest who's done their homework.
I'm a teacher's pet, so
Oh,
you can count on me to do my homework.
Then you can sit in the front of this class any day.
Awesome. I hope, Amanda, you approve.
I think she will.
Miss you.
Yeah, we all miss you. You can check out Sierra and her show, Twisted and Uncorked. And I haven't done any begging for a while. So, hey, you guys want to give me a 5-star review? That would be super cool. It would be nice to be like, hey, Amanda, look at all these riches I've got for you, and just have a pile of stars here waiting for her. That would be really cool. I don't think we've gotten one in a couple weeks. But I also haven't been doing my begging because I've been too busy on other stuff. So please, please, please rate and review. That would be great. Only 5 stars. And yeah, I think we are good. And until next time with my next host, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we are all doomed.
Doomed, doomed, doomed.
Doom. See ya.
Thank you for listening to Seriously Sinister.
If you have a true petty crime story to share, please email us at seriouslysinisterpodcast@gmail.com or send us a Facebook message.
If you would like to support our show, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review.
Also, tell your friends about this podcast.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Seriously Sinister Podcast.
And on Twitter at SeriouslySinPod.
Shout out to Trevin for writing all of the original music you hear and for producing our show. Follow him and his music at Fiesta Maiden on SoundCloud, Spotify, and Facebook.
And credit to Miranda Lucas for our awesome logo. You can find her on Instagram at MirandaLucas26.
All stories are written by myself and Trevin, and all stories are based on actual, true petty crimes.
Now imagine you're a Tasmanian devil and you're like you remember in Space Jam when he cleans the gym?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like going crazy and he's like cleaning the place.
Oh,
So
shit.
try to be like a female Tasmanian devil for like...
Wow. Okay. This one's going to be interesting. Is that me speaking in tongues?